Well, let's talk about Kevin Durant and everything going on with him and the NBA scene in general. We bring in, of course, one of the most plugged-in people when it comes to it. It is DLLS's Marc Stein riding alongside Jake Fisher, keeping NBA fans informed and as smart as they could possibly be. Mark, busy time. How is the Kevin Durant trade market going for you personally?
This is what the people want, so let's do it. I mean, how many times, I'm sure we all wish we had a dime for every time we heard somebody say this offseason is going to be crazy. And look, we got an absolute blockbuster on June 15th, 10 days before the draft. And between now and the draft, yes, we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals. Yes, we're going to be talking about Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper and how the order shakes out after them. But other than that, until Kevin Durant is traded, Kevin Durant is as large a storyline as there is in the NBA, his future and what happens.
Well, Mark, I kind of want to get your read on this because, as we know, during this time of year, teams will leak things, and it's often for a reason. But how are you kind of seeing this market shake out in terms of, we've seen the three teams, the Rockets, the Spurs, the Heat, the teams that were his preferred destinations. We've heard the report that the Suns are not pleased or not excited about the offers they're getting. I've heard rumblings that the Timberwolves have been one of the most aggressive. How are you kind of seeing this market shake out, and what are you hearing on your end?
You guys mentioned Jake Fisher writes twice a week on my page, and honestly, this time of year, he writes more than twice a week. So he and I are covering this together, and I think we've been pretty consistent in our reporting. You have the group of teams, like you said, the three teams that we know Kevin Durant would be open to landing with, or that he hopes to land with, either San Antonio or Houston in Texas, or the Miami Heat. I reported yesterday the Knicks also would have been on that list, but the Knicks made it pretty clear in this process that they would not be making a run at Kevin Durant. So I think you have the group of teams that we know Kevin Durant is open to signing an extension with beyond just being traded there. Then you have the group of teams, Minnesota probably at the top of that list, where they're willing to they're willing, interested, / maybe even eager to trade for Kevin Durant without any assurance that they can have him on their team from beyond next season. Kevin Durant only has 1 year left on his contract. And what's so different now compared to February is, in February, when people talked about Kevin Durant trade prospects, it was very much likened to what we heard with Jimmy Butler and Miami. That wherever Jimmy Butler ended up, there was most likely going to be an extension attached to the trade, and that's exactly what we saw in Golden State. Jimmy Butler got a 2-year extension on top of the trade. But you have these rumblings now that your Minnesotas, maybe the Clippers, maybe Toronto, maybe some team that we're not even aware of, mystery suitor X, you can call it, that is willing to trade for Kevin Durant without an assurance that they would have him for more than one season. And that's really the rub here, because the signals from the Suns, I think it's pretty clear they're going to make the trade they like the best. There's been lots of reporting about they are working with Kevin Durant and his longtime business manager, Rich Kleiman. But the way I worded it, I think this was in my Sunday story, the Suns have not promised that they're going to trade Kevin Durant to one of the three teams on his list of preferred destinations. If one of those three teams makes an offer that Phoenix likes, then the Suns would do that. But I think it's pretty clear here that the Suns at this point are going to make the best trade they can conceivably make, because I'm pretty sure you guys do not want me to run through the litany of players and draft picks they surrendered to get him in February 2023, because we do not want anybody in chat bursting into tears.
Mark, in recent reports over the last couple of weeks, we heard that the Suns are valuing a starting caliber center to bring into their team with Jordan not going forward, obviously. And even as recent as yesterday, we heard about them being interested in some capacity in Kristaps Porzingis as well as Myles Turner. Can you just kind of give us a little bit more detail and kind of what you know from your perspective on what the interest level is with those two?
Yeah, that actually came from Jake Fisher, a tremendous story that he posted this morning that the Suns are doing some background work on Kristaps Porzingis because, look, it's an open secret in the NBA that the Celtics are weighing changes to their roster. They've got to reduce salary. They've got to reduce their luxury tax bill. And realistically, the easiest way for the Celtics to do that is by moving Porzingis, whose contract is down to 1 year, a little bit under 31 million. It's an expiring deal. Drew Holiday, there are teams out there that would naturally love to acquire Drew Holiday, who has been part of championship teams in both Milwaukee and Boston. But Drew Holiday has 3 years left on his deal, valued at more than 100 million. So he's harder to trade. That's just the reality of it. So if Kristaps Porzingis is available, and you spelled out the Suns' need for a floor spacing big man very well, obviously they're going to investigate it, see if there's anything there. I think realistically, if anything ever came to fruition with Porzingis landing in Phoenix, it would probably have to be a multi-team deal. I don't think Jake's reporting was meant to suggest that there is anything close there, but just something that the Suns are monitoring and a player that the Suns are interested in because, look, Myles Turner, Jake and I have been writing, Detroit, Atlanta, throw Phoenix in there. There is no shortage of teams that would love to go after Myles Turner. But the working assumption around the league is that Turner and the Pacers are going to do a new deal. They're in the finals for just the second time in 25 years. Turner's a Pacers lifer. I don't really think anyone around the league expects him to become available. He is almost certainly going to re-sign with the Pacers.
Hey, Mark, Shane Young here. Nice to talk with you. I'm just wondering, with the Houston piece of this, do you feel as if there's some internal, I don't know, maybe conflict or disagreement in terms of, obviously Ime Udoka, the coach, has a relationship with Kevin Durant. They're close still to this day, but management, not wanting to send out too much in a deal with KD, but coaching that the coaching staff might want to get him in the door to advance in the West.
Look, I mean, I think you're right in terms of Ime Udoka's fondness for Kevin Durant is another one of those open secrets in the league. Royal Ivey is also on Houston's staff, a coach who's very close to Kevin Durant. I reported yesterday, I believe, the Spurs and a number of teams have been trying to hire Royal Ivey away from the Rockets, and all indications are that Royal Ivey wants to stay with the Rockets. So, and Royal Ivey, of course, was involved in the Suns head coaching search as well. So, look, the Udoka Durant connection has been in circulation for months. But I feel like we've been reporting this also all season, and the messaging out of Houston has been consistent. And I have to say, through the trade deadline especially, it proved absolutely accurate that the Suns did not want to do anything to their team during the season. They wanted to give this young group a chance to get to the playoffs and see what it could do, just like Oklahoma City approached last season. Now, the Rockets went out in round 1. They lost a game 7 at home. They were the higher seed. They had undeniable offensive issues in that series against Golden State. And I do think now there are certain scenarios in which the Rockets would do a Durant trade. But I've consistently gotten the impression that the Rockets feel like they are going to be very selective in terms of what they would be willing to give up. Not because they don't love Kevin Durant. Of course they like Kevin Durant. Who does? Like, Kevin Durant is a Hall of Fame player and still one of the, 3 to 5 best bucket getters on earth. I don't care if he turns 37 in September. That's not really the issue. But they have a team of 20-somethings, and they're young 20-somethings. And so I think they feel like they've got Phoenix's first in 2027, 2029. They already controlled the Suns' first-round pick in this draft. It really has appeared to me to this point, underline to this point, because stuff changes. It's a very fluid league, and things can change. But to this point, I do think it's fair to say that interest in a Durant to Houston deal to this point has been more on the Suns side than on the Rockets side. And it's obvious why, because the Rockets have those picks and the Suns would love to get at least one of them back. Are the Rockets going to cave and give the Suns what they want? Or are the Rockets in some form or fashion going to put the best Durant offer on the table? We're still going to have to wait and see. I can't give you that answer.
Mark, we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us. Maybe we could talk some draft stuff another time before the draft happens, but you mentioned that there are a lot of teams who are interested in KD, different types of teams with different packages to offer. Universally speaking, where would you say Kevin Durant's trade value is right now? Because you mentioned all the good that comes with them, the bucket getter, but then there's the age and the contract. We just saw Desmond Bane go for a large amount of draft capital. Let's maybe use that as a baseline. Where do you see Kevin Durant's trade package lining up with that?
Yeah, I have not, I'll just put it to you like this. I haven't spoken to anyone from another team or just, other teams who are not even trying to get Durant, but just observing this situation. I have not heard anyone projecting that a Durant trade can bring 4 firsts back to the Suns. Again, because of all the reasons you said. He's going to be 37 in September, and he only has 1 year left on his contract. So even those teams willing to gamble, like we've talked a lot about Toronto and the Clippers, how far are they willing to go in a trade when Durant would only be arriving with 1 year left on his deal? And I think that's the push and pull. I mean, that's why we haven't seen a trade yet. The Suns obviously have lofty ambitions here and naturally want to get back as much as they can in this trade, but it's just easier said than done because a lot of these conditions. I mean, why was Orlando willing to go so far for Desmond Bane, a player who does not have an all-star appearance on his resume? He is a proven distance shooter and volume shooter. He's an underrated playmaker, but it's also the age. He's not yet 27, and the contract control. Bane is under contract for 3 or 4 more years. So those things factored in to the Orlando trade calculus, as well as the fact that the Magic had to offload KCP's contract, and they had to give Memphis some sweetener there because that contract is not regarded as a contract with positive value. So it's hard to make outright comparisons. It's not necessarily a statement about the players involved because, again, Kevin Durant, wherever he goes, is not just going to bring a world-class bucket getter to his next team, but I mean, the interest level. I mean, he's going, Kevin Durant is going to be good for business if, just hypothetically speaking, if the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Toronto Raptors roll the dice and win the trade sweepstakes. I mean, imagine Kevin Durant going to the jolt that he gives a franchise like that if he ends up with a Minnesota or a Toronto. But obviously, he's hoping to land with one of those 3 teams that are on his list.
Mark, thank you so much. Obviously, the Steinline Substack is a great place to keep up with not just what's going on with Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns, but everything going on in the NBA as well. You and Jake Fisher do incredible work there, even covering some draft stuff as well. Jake Fisher reporting that Ryan Kalkbrenner and Maxine Reynaud have worked out with the Suns, so might have to have one of you guys on before the draft again to dive deeper into that. But once again, we appreciate you sharing your insight on KD. Make sure that if you guys are not already subscribed to Marc Stein Substack, that you do that. And you can tap in with his coverage over at DLLS with All City. Mark, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys. We will do it again soon.
Perfect. Sounds good. I would tell everybody to follow Marc Stein, but you guys all probably already do. At the Stein line, in case you didn't notice.
We all silly like the mayor.